Oh, it's thinking about it. It says you're streaming, but clearly you're not.
Try harder.
Oh, I just had to refresh the page. That's dumb.
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh,
I was gonna say I can see that one.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, everyone saw me being confused for like 5 minutes. All right. And with that, welcome to episode 52 of the Secret Cow Level podcast. Once again, my name is Mo. With me, I have Corey,
Yo.
and I've got Derek.
hi, folks.
Hey guys, so I have been gone for quite a while. Things got a little rough, so I had to take a step back from the podcast and deal with some personal things. But now I'm back hosting the Midnight Society from Are You Afraid of the Dark because I forgot to pack a lamp and I'm using my cell phone flashlight as my light source currently. Uh,
Today I learned, except it wasn't today. Did you know the Are You Afraid of the Dark? The thing that they sprinkled in the fire was actually non-dairy creamer.
Makes
what?
sense. That stuff's super
Yeah.
flammable.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
you
what
ever,
they use.
you ever seen non-dairy creamer fireballs?
No.
No, you put look it up, YouTube it. It's amazing. You get like 30-foot high pillars of fire. Yeah, non-dairy creamer is incredibly flammable.
Yeah,
Oh.
just gonna say, if you ever go camping and you want to do a little Are You Afraid of the Dark thing, get one of those little canisters of non-dairy creamer and then just throw that on the fire responsibly.
Sprinkle a small amount. If you throw the can on, it will explode. It won't explode. It will rapidly conflagrate because I'm pedantic and I have to make the difference. But it'll light your ass on fire is what it'll do.
Yes.
It will be Are You Afraid of the Fire? Then. And it'll kind of ruin the whole
Yes.
atmosphere.
The answer will be yes. Cited sources: you screaming.
missing, missing people's report for several eyebrows. Gonna have to Facebook check in on that one.
Oh my god. Oh man. So how have you two been doing since my grand departure?
Oh, we got shit done. Yeah. I mean, I think nobody even hardly noticed. Except for the people on the audio podcast, because I definitely forgot about that. Sorry, audio people. We were struggling. We were struggling hard with just getting a consistent stream to work between me and Derek. There's always something fucking wrong.
Yep.
So when I got it done, like, I didn't even think about it until I started going back through the stuff, and I saw somebody posted today, hey, I kind of miss listening to you guys on the audio, and I'm like, oh my god. I forgot about the audio.
People who have been neglected
Uh,
from the past.
sorry.
So for them, it's
Still
gonna
love-
go from like episode 49 or something to 52.
Yeah, probably something like that. Not the best. But, I mean, we played some video games.
We did.
Played some Gigantic, which was actually pretty fun, I gotta say.
Nice.
Mo, we gotta get you in there so you can make us look better. It'd be awesome.
Is it 3v3, 5v5?
5v5.
5v5.
Mm.
Yeah, we may have to get a couple other little stragglers along, or if anything, 3 of us makes us the majority of the team. So
That's true.
Yeah. I know
You
from
get the
experience
synergy
that
done.
because I just played a rando game the other night, and there happened to be 2 other people who were actually using the voice chat, and they both played tanks, and I played a tank, and so we're just like beef squad, and I was like, yeah, beef squad, and one of the drunker of the 2 was like beef squad right side. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm going, let's go, and we just, like, ran around like as 3 tanks. Actually, it was 2 tanks and a frontline tanky support, but we were unkillable and had lots of CC and basically just like body slammed people repeatedly and they died, and it was great. Like Trip ran in and started like rave dancing at us, and she just like bounced off our pecs and like Stop that. Great. So yes, three people acting together reasonably cohesively, even very drunk, and all playing the same archetype works pretty well, especially in pubs.
Could work for us. I think the introduction of alcohol will vastly improve our performance.
Yes. Oh yeah, pro strat. Drink until you're good.
Mm-hmm. As for me, I have played quite a few games over the past week.
Yeah.
I've been playing Warframe for a while now. They just did a huge release where they added in a new game type, I would say. Like, they already have 12 different mission types in there, but they did a thing where you now have this kind of open... It's not a sandbox, but it's just a much more open level, and you're intended to stay in it and get quests as they pop up and then travel there. And they have this mechanic called the Arcwing, where you have space levels and you fly around in space. Well, in this map type, you do all of your missions just on the ground in your Warframe, but when you're traveling to the other places, you can get in your Arcwing and fly to another place, and then land there, do whatever the mission is. There's also day-night cycles, and there's apparently large walkers that are large bosses that you can also fight in there that seem to be way super level compared to what I'm at. So that's kind of interesting. I was glad I'm playing at a time where they're going somewhere new with it, and it'd be nice to know if that's going to be the new standard, something more... I'm not sure what I guess less instanced. It's still an instance. It's just huge compared to the regular maps. Is all.
Yeah, it's not jump in, do the mission, leave.
Yeah, they expect you to gather a bunch of quests and missions, go out into the field, do those things. Occasionally there'll be alerts that pop up that you can jump to, and then when you're done, you leave and jump back out. So I'll be interested to see how that goes. Plus, I've gotten a lot cooler stuff, so I'm getting close to the in-game material. And once I fully see what that's like, I can probably put it away. Because, again, I know I've been playing a lot of it, so it's hard to say that I don't like it. Because, you see Steam reviews of people that have 600 hours in the game and go, this game sucks, I hate it. Okay. But, I've sank a healthy amount of time into it. It's enjoyable. It scratches an itch I have, but at the end of the day, it feels like they're missing a lot of crucial stuff there. So we'll see how the end game goes. Outside of that, popped open Path of Exile since I hadn't touched that in a little bit, and they've done that update that we were talking about months ago. And I was oh shit, I completely forgot about that. Made a character and I started going through that. I'm almost at Act 2, so I'll probably just grind that out at some point and see what the rest of the game's like now. Maybe we can...
Check it out.
I was gonna say we could probably team up or do something, since I know everyone here was probably interested in seeing how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
And the current league is pretty fun too. They've got these enemies that spawn. They kind of look like StarCraft Archons, and they just pump out enemies. You can't hurt them. Their life just goes down as you kill the enemies they spawn. So you just have to keep killing the enemies until they die out. Then they drop a special crafting material I'm sure is good for something, but I haven't looked it up yet. But it's pretty cool. I don't mind that league, especially since this has come with a bunch of tweaks to the UI as well as the skills and passive abilities and stuff like that. So I'm going to check that out. Probably play through it once and then maybe drop it again until another update. But we'll see. We'll see about that as well. And Melee NetPlay has gotten a little bit better. I did some more network network tweaking, and got it to work. Yeah, as it turns out, booty shaking does not make your internet go fast. As a matter of fact, it may slow it down.
If it did, I would have the fastest internet around.
Mo likes to put it down. That's pretty much everything I've been up to. How about you guys?
So I've been playing a lot of games. I've been kind of between places. I actually started watching League of Legends Worlds. That's been going on for the past few weeks. And spoilers for the group stage. NA sucks. Once again, like Immortals went 2-1, C9 went 2-1, and I think TSM, they did pretty good their first day. And then Immortals went 0-4 the next week. And I was like, oh, well, fucking what the fuck? TSM got blown out by Misfits Gaming. Cloud9 actually got the second seed in their group. So I was like, oh, yay. NA doesn't 100% suck. Um, but what I would highly suggest watching is Fnatic from the EU. Uh, they went 0-4 the first day, and I was like, oh god. And then everyone was talking after that first week, and everyone was like, oh no, they're gonna get knocked out. You know, fuck them. Like the odds of them getting out are super low. Well, it turns out they actually got second place after going
Damn.
0-4. So
Come back.
they went 3-0 the next day or the next week, and specific things had to happen. Like Team A had to beat Team B, and then Team B had to lose against Team C, and it was some like trigonometry as bullshit. But that all actually happened, and so there was a three-way tie for second place. So Fnatic had to play a tiebreaker against Team someone. They won that one. And then they had to go against the next team that they tied up against, and they won that one. So they went like 5-0 the second week to get second place. It was crazy.
Hey, those loser side wins can. I mean, it's rare, but they're so good. You could go back and watch that. Like that first day is probably just like watching your soul get crushed, but knowing how it ends, like,
Yeah. I would
you could make
definitely
a movie out of it.
I would definitely watch their games. There's a couple of good ones as well. I can't remember what they are, but so I used to play League way back in the day. I was terrible at it. Excuse me. And I gave up. I was like, fuck it. I don't want to spend an hour and a half in a game just feeding, whatever. So I started watching again, and I kind of want to play, only not because like I find it fun, but I really enjoy watching the gameplay. And so Cass is they're talking about this ardent sensor matter, ardent sensor matter. So after a while, I was like, what the fuck is ardent sensor? They keep talking about this stupid item. So I looked it up, and if your support like heals or shields a character, they get like bonus AD and bonus attack speed.
Ooh.
So then I was like, oh, okay, this shit's kind of broken. So I was like, oh, now I get
It
it.
was overlooked forever, though. Like, no one cared about it last two seasons.
Yeah, no one get it all of a sudden came up like toward the end of the regular season and the beginning of Worlds is when
Yeah.
people started playing it. Um, so then like I'd look up what the Elder Dragon did because I knew it gave you like a bonus based off like the other amount of other dragons you've gained. But I was like, well, okay, let me look this up. There were little things that I was like, okay, everyone's clearly talking about like this character or this ability. I have no idea what this is. So so now I just kind of want to play, even though I'm terrible at the game. I at least want to get some kind of knowledge on what's. I got like the macro, like I understand the general, the opening, the mid game, the late game. I kind of get that, but there are some like micro things that I really wanted to like kind of understand. But Worlds has been really good. If you haven't already, if you're not watching it, watch at least the highlights because a lot of the groups were really close this year, except for NA for dumb reasons.
I guess on that note, I watched a lot of the Magic the Gathering Grand Prix on Twitch.
Oh yeah,
I think I was talking with Derek about that last week, but I'd say more than anything, I was just surprised at the production value. It was really easy to follow along with the games. The casters were staying on point and being informative, and the gameplay was moving along pretty nicely. So it was a entertaining show to say the least. And I know I'm already interested in Magic, so that's kind of biased, but I could really see the appeal of sitting down and watching a Magic stream if that's the kind of level they put into it all the time.
Yeah.
I watched it sometime last year when the meta was really bad, but yeah, their production value has really stepped it up. And it's funny because when I was watching it, the copycat combo got banned, which gave way to gave way
So
to
stupid.
turn 4 Ulamog with Aetherworks Marvel, right? And so like so like every time this deck would come up in the match, they were like, "Oh, turn 5, guess what's coming down?" Like they were 100% over it by that point. But yeah, I didn't see it, but I listened to a bunch of MTG podcasts, and they really said the production value was like through the roof, specifically for this one.
I can agree with that for sure.
Yeah. Um.
Uh,
Oh, you do anything, Derek? You gonna go on? I'm sorry, you're up there for me, and not that way. Unless it's gonna reverse it for some reason. Whatever.
no, he's over there. I mean, like, over there.
I don't have a whole lot. I've been playing some Gigantic. Love that. I had a little thing I was going to babble about last week before my internet decided to not internet, and that we didn't have a podcast. But yeah, I'm gonna touch on it a little bit. I had kind of a ramble, all charged up, but it's spent. So basically, as some folks listen to this regularly probably know, I'm a long-time professional poor gamer, so I will semi-regularly just hop on the Google Play App Store and peruse the free game section to see if anything catches my eye, and then I'll check out, like if it has an interesting icon art or an interesting name, I'll just tap it and I'll check out its page, and more than half the time I end up leaving the page because the game will tell me absolutely nothing about the gameplay itself. It'll tell me a whole lot of stuff that isn't gameplay. It's basically just like on the screenshots section where it's supposed to show me the game, it mostly just shows me pictures that are ads for the game. Usually have like a bunch of art that is not in the game and a bunch of like 3D block text followed by exclamation points over top of it, and a whole lot of I don't know what this game even is. And
but there's cutscenes. The cutscenes tell you so much about how you play the game.
Yeah, most of this isn't even in the game. It's just advertisement art. Like it's just like cover art for like an old like 8-bit game or something. Like that's what I see when I go down there. It's nothing. It's not even in the game anywhere. And then the description for the game is usually just something like the best game ever. You will be so addicted. OMG, OMG, exclamation. Just bullshit. I'm just like, nope. And you're done. So that's the preface for this, because it'll be unintuitive, but I'll make it make sense. I stumbled across a game that caught my interest. It didn't take a lot, because these are free games. It doesn't take a lot for me for it to catch my interest, to be worth tapping on and checking out the page and inevitably leaving it. And then if it manages to go, this game has it is likely enough to be worth playing for it to it's like they give me enough value to be worth the 2 minutes it takes to download it and try it out and then delete it if not, because it's a free app game.
Right.
So really low bar here, but a lot, like it pretty much less than 50 or 40% success rate for the App Store overall. So this game catches my eye. It's got kind of an interesting art. It's called Armory and Machine, and I'd recommend listening to this. Don't go and like Google up everything about it. Listen to this and see if this seems interesting. Most of the viewers and stuff, but the icon is kind of interesting. It's got some interesting little art. And Armory and Machine. I'm like, well, that's either a really cool name or some bad English, but it's worth tapping on to see which. So I go to the page, and there is almost nothing on the page. But unlike most games, it doesn't show me a whole bunch of shit that has nothing to do with the game. It has almost nothing there. It shows me the logo, the title of the game, which is Armory and Machine, written in some kind of cool font, which I like as a graphic designer. It's just like interestingly laid out white text on a black background with kind of like a 2001 like glowy red eye in the O of Armory, and that's it. And I'm like, all right, well, that's cool. I'll scroll down for that. And I go to the game description, which is right above the screenshots that are normally just advertisements. And the game description is, the glow of the machine is the only light under the starless blackest sky. The machine is warm. And I'm like, well, that's
Okay.
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
And
All
then
right, I will.
Saw comes out and asks if you want to play a game.
Yeah, like, and then I go down to the screenshot. There are 2 screenshots. One of them is that title screen showing the Armory Machine logo and that text below it on a black background. And the second is an interface. It's just a blank gray interface. And at the top, there's a button that says heat with a bar next to it. And that is it. There's nothing else in the interface and in the UI. And I'm like, because I am a big fan of minimalism in a lot of ways. I love minimalist design, and I'm really, you can get me super hyped through some decently, well thought out minimalist advertising. Like, I don't know if you guys remember Cloverfield's advertising.
Oh yeah,
that was
yeah.
brilliant. I watched the first commercial, didn't know what it was, and was super hyped about definitely seeing it opening night. And I didn't watch any more commercials. I followed a couple of threads of the kind of like social media, like viral advertising stuff, like threads they threw out. But then I caught, when I realized it was in fact Cloverfield, I was like, okay, cool, but I already want to watch that, so I don't want to know anymore. So like that's the kind of thing I like. So this game, it got my attention, so I downloaded the game, obviously, gave it a shot, played some. I'm gonna ramble a bit in very vague, ambiguous terms because that is, I feel, appropriate for this. One thing I'll say,
it sounds like it's going to be hard to pin down in concise and detailed terms.
Exactly. I'm going to intentionally not do that because the whole point of this, I'm going to try and convey the experience that I was getting to see if it's the kind of thing you might want. Up front, though, the one thing I will say in precise and unambiguous terms is that this game is an auto-clicker. Okay. Mechanically, gameplay-wise, it's an auto-clicker. You will click buttons to get resources that will make those buttons click more efficiently to give you other resources to make you not need to click the buttons anymore so that they'll make resources. And it's an auto-clicker.
Right.
It will throw a couple of mechanical curveballs at you, but mostly still like 90% auto-clicker. So that out of the way. Also, with the addendum, I do not enjoy auto-clickers and normally don't waste my time with them because they are they are distilled Skinner box. It is the PvE grind minus everything that might make it interesting. It's just the addictive like heroin core and nothing else. So
yeah, and everyone knows that you want your heroin with a little bit extra. Come on.
Lace it with something in there. Dress it up. I don't know. Just don't.
Yeah, make it fancy.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, so that's the preface. I do not like auto-clickers. I have, though, played a bunch of this game. And I intend, assuming it doesn't like bore me to death by the ever-expanding gap between content nuggets that you get with auto-clickers as it scales upward into extra zeros on every number, as it tends to. But assuming it doesn't drive me away, I intend to complete this game because I want to see where it takes me. So, the game, as I'm playing, I'm going to ignore all of the mechanics because it's an auto-clicker. I just told you all of the mechanics, except for a couple little things that are like one thing that's a little different, but still basically auto-clicker. So I'll leave that over there. You already know all of that. So the experience, this game, that game page on the App Store is extremely appropriate because as you play this game, you just get this feeling of not really knowing what you're doing, why you're doing it, or what you're working toward, but having this drive to pursue it. And very, very slight spoilers, like as much as the story of the game is a story, that is basically it. Like you the player, are basically having the same feeling and experience as who or whatever it is you represent in the canon, which is also very ambiguous. Slight spoiler for 30 seconds into the game. But I honestly feel kind of bad about saying this much about it because just like you start in, with basically nothing, and because most of the UI isn't even there, and it will give you pieces of the UI as you need them, as things start making them matter. So at first, the whole UI is a gray background with one button and a bar next to it. That is it. You get basically nothing else. But it just says heat, and you start heating it
You
up,
know
and
what?
after a little bit,
I kind of want you to not say anything because now I'm really interested and I don't want it to be
yeah,
spoiled.
I'm not gonna say anything about what you learn beyond that. I'm telling you where it
Okay.
starts.
Okay.
But the one little piece I will throw out there, because it's the first thing that pops up beyond the button in the bar, is you get feedback in the flavor side of things through logs. And I do not know who or what is writing these logs, whether they're written by me, about me, whether I'm reading them, written by someone else about someone or something. I don't know. I don't know who or what I am, and I don't know what my goal or my purpose is, but I have a need to pursue it. And that is the feeling you get from this game. It is this enjoyable sense of kind of groping blindly through the darkness, trying to figure out where you are and what you are, but all the time just being driven by this draw to some unknown goal. And as you get closer and closer to the goal, you start to learn more and more about what or why it is. But you also still are constantly aware that you are probably not going to know what the goal is until you've achieved it. It really does that well. And this leads me into this is kind of an overall topic of games as art, which I'm going to set this aside for now and go on a slight talk about games as art. It's not a term I use often for basically two different reasons that are on opposite ends of the spectrum. Because for one, part of me is like, like games as art gets thrown around too easily, and for kind of snobbish reasons more often than not. Like a game needs to, a game as art needs to be something special. It needs to do something, be evocative, and not just like tell a story that you find interesting. But like that, because as a movie or a book can do that, but a game needs to be something different and unique and personal for it to be art. And I don't want to throw that around. I don't want to use it as something intellectually snobby, etc. But simultaneously and contradictorily, I'm also on the other end of the spectrum going, well, of course it's art. It's a game. Games are art. It's an art form. Mm-hmm. Every game is art. Anytime you make anything that takes someone on any kind of journey, you've made art. That's it. So of course it's art. So I don't throw that around a whole lot. But even though I don't really know, kind of appropriately, don't really know what games as art is, I feel that this meets that unknown definition. Because
can I pop in?
Yeah.
So if I were to say the problem I have with the games as art is that for almost any other medium, the observer is not a participant in the art. There is almost always that fourth wall that blocks you from the actors or whatever it is that you're viewing. There are a couple things that do step outside of that, and they aren't games. They could be things like special kinds of art where somebody can input something to influence what's going on say, like a canvas or whatnot. There could be some kind of participatory input. But with the game, the interaction is what defines a game. If you don't interact with it, it's not a game. So when we start talking about games as art, I feel like the way that you use mechanics and the way that the player implements them is what should be the defining part of your artistic game. Now, I think the biggest problem is that the people that push the games as art focus more on the story and themes and artistic style. And while that's fine, and I think you could make a very artistically pleasing game like, say, Okami, which wasn't really groundbreaking in any mechanical form, but the theme, the story, and the artistic style was so amazing that I would be fine with saying that's a game as art example.
Or like for more recently, Ori and the Blind Forest.
Yeah, of course. Like, Ori doesn't have, like, any outstanding, particularly unique mechanics or anything like that, but its theme, its art style, those were really good, and the music. But I feel like that gets left out. Like, wonderfully mechanically optimized, fluid games are art. I would say, like, Mario 3 for the NES I would say that is game as art because that was like one of the most mechanically satisfying games.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about it, like just jumping on a Goomba, the sound effects, the bouncing mechanics, how high you can go up, like holding down the button, short hops, longer hops. There was so much put into that, and it worked. There's like hardly any bugs in that game that are really like game ruining for you, if there is at all any. And everything makes sense. There's never a point where you're completely lost. It just works, and it's amazing. And that's hard to do. Like, people think that's pretty simple, but you want to know what it's like to be an artist in the game industry, go look at games like that are just, they're masterpieces, not because they're artistically beautiful. If anyone asks what's the story of Super Mario 3, it's there's wands in different places and people got turned into monsters. Undo it. Control Z Bowser. That's like the whole story.
Yeah.
And it's great. So yeah, I feel like whenever you start talking about games as art, it's real easy to get caught up in traditional art and trying to apply that to games.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes games such a good art form is that interaction and how you do it. So for a game like that, where you're starting off with nothing and your progress gives you a glimpse into this world and helps you build that world, that's a good way to use a game mechanic of progression. Because for a book, a movie, a TV show, you just get progression. Now, it's an auto-clicker, so there's not a whole lot to the accomplishment of it. But I would imagine that there's a little bit there just to make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just enough to make you feel involved. You are still doing. You feel like you are. So that is a lot more engaging than just reading it, for example.
Yeah, and that's one of the problems I have with quote-unquote walking simulators.
Oh, God.
Is like I can appreciate what they're trying to do, but they're not a game, if that makes any sense. Like, yeah, I have some input and I can walk around and I'm on rails, but ultimately I'm not doing I'm not doing anything that a movie or a book or any other medium could have done.
Yeah, it's an interactive medium, but it would not be a game.
Right.
So,
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think I don't want to sidetrack too much, but that kind of starts going into what we were talking about, or with the word gameplay, the other talking point I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
yeah, let's go into that.
All right, so, oh God, I should probably just start with the Discovery Tour then. So I'm not sure if you guys noticed this.
I gotta run really quick. Give me you can keep going. I'll be back in 30 seconds.
So, if you didn't notice, Ubisoft released some information about their upcoming Assassin's Creed game. And one of the features that they're highlighting is the Discovery Tour. It's a way for you to play a version of the game that does not have any obstacles in it. And it just kind of gives you a hold your hand, lead you through the game so that you can enjoy the history elements of it. So somebody that wants to just watch people get embalmed and go through different historical places, you can just throw it into Discovery Tour, travel around Egypt, catch the sights, and kind of just enjoy that. Now, on one hand, I like that idea. I mean, it fits with that particular game very well, just because that's what they're going for, is that immersive, that immersion into a previous culture. And that's fantastic. I'm fine with that. I wouldn't say controversy, but a lot of people had their jimmies rustled about this because people immediately said they want this applied to other games. And I don't think that that's as easily applicable. The argument being that whenever you buy a book, nothing stops you from getting to the end of that book. As long as you're literate, you can take a book, flip the pages, get to whatever page you want to. Same thing with a movie. If you buy a movie, you put the movie in, you play the movie, you get to the end of the movie. There's nothing stopping you. But with a video game, it's possible for you to drop $60 on a game and not have the capability, for whatever reason, to actually complete it. Because, it requires you to advance and overcome challenges and obstacles and whatnot. So the argument is that every game should have something like the Discovery Tour, where you remove all the obstacles and challenges and just let someone move through the levels like no clipping, so that they can see all the content and enjoy it first person instead of going onto YouTube or something. Because they bought it, they should be allowed to explore their own content. And the flip side of that being that the whole point of a game is to overcome challenges, with the reward being progressing to the next spot. So, I mean, that's multifaceted, and I know that means we're going to have to unpack it a little bit. But I think the base being here that in this particular game, Assassin's Creed, it makes sense to have this kind of option. Remove all the enemies, all the obstacles, let someone enjoy the history element of the game. With the other being that games by nature are exclusionary to people that don't have the skill sets to complete them. Is it wrong to block someone from getting access to the rest of the game because they could not complete something that's bottlenecking them right now? Like, imagine if every game you played had a level select screen at the beginning, and from the get-go, you go straight to the end. I feel personally split on it, because I understand both sides of this. I understand wanting to force people to complete things, because being a game designer, I want them to experience the whole thing. I want them to face challenge 1 and then challenge 2, challenge 3, and move through it and grow and learn and enjoy that. But at the same time, I also understand, because I've dropped money on games that I've not been able to complete because there's either a bullshit level, or like the pacing just hit like a brick wall, or there was a puzzle that was just poorly explained or implemented, and you just basically give up and walk away. Whereas if I had like a skip this one bullshit thing to continue on, I would have been able to enjoy the rest of the game because of that. So, but yeah, that touches not only on this idea of letting people enjoy all the content, but also the nature of gameplay itself. How much of that is necessary, and how much of it is an elitist, like, clinging to wanting people to complete everything?
So I had a good example when you were talking about that. So I bought Dark Souls 3 sometime last year. And I have not completed the game. The game is very beautiful. I mentioned this many, many months ago. The game is very beautiful. The lore behind it is confounding to a point where it's like, well, I don't understand this, but I'm intrigued at why you wrote it this way in the first place. Like, why is all your story on items? Like, okay, I guess I'll go get all the items to figure out what's going on, right? But I do not. I think particularly that game is way too difficult for its own good, and I feel bad because it gates. There's this world, this beautiful world with this lore that I want to explore, but it says no, fuck you, fuck you. It's like, all right, game, like damn.
Yeah.
So I can understand why discovery mode would be one, because I really want to explore the game, but I don't want to slog through bullshit hitboxes and things like that, right? I would much rather the game have a difficulty setting rather than a discovery mode or a level select, because I mentioned this earlier. Without me interacting with the game in some way, shape, or form, it's not a game. I don't want to just walk through Dark Souls and read all the item descriptions. That's not fun. But if the game dealt like half the damage, or if the game were just slightly easier, well, mostly easier because it's a really hard game, I would enjoy it more. And yeah, it wasn't $60, but I spent money on it. With the caveat that I knew what I was getting into. I wasn't like some bright-eyed, bushy-tailed 18-year-old like, oh, I want to play Dark Souls for the first time. No. Like, I knew it was hard. I knew what I was getting into. I spent the money. I didn't like it. That's on me. And this is coming up recently with Cuphead, too. Cuphead, another gorgeous game, but people are like, why the fuck is it so hard? Do you need it to be this hard?
Yeah, that was one of the arguments that came up after the Discovery Tour was announced was, oh, look at this game that's currently in the mind of everyone, Cuphead. Wouldn't it be nice if we could have a boss skip option so that we can just go, oh, this one's wrecking my ass right now, and I'm getting frustrated on it, so I kind of want to move on to the next thing, and then maybe I can come back and revisit that.
Yeah.
But again, part of me says I totally understand that. I know that feeling, and I get it. But on the other hand, the reason why you need to beat this thing is that it's probably, you're going to get that same feeling the further you go along.
Right.
You skip this boss, you go to this next one, you're probably going to hit that like brick wall again. And instead of learning how to overcome it, you're just going to move on to the next one and then brick wall that. And then the next thing you know, you're just skipping to the end of the game.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not a fan of the skip level or skip boss or just, all content is available, jump to where you want. Because one, like you said, it's going to reinforce a problem that is what's in your way of ingesting this game and its content. Games that are well made will teach you to play them as you play them. And if you jump around, it's not going to do that. Also, it's the same as like opening up a novel and being like, I'm going to read chapter 13 and then start at the beginning. Or like, I know people who actually, that said, like, I know people, I've met people who read novels backwards. They will read every chapter start to finish from the last chapter backward to the first. Just the standard way they read. And I do not get it, but they do it and they want to do it, and why does that matter to me? And that's kind of one of the core points where I'm coming from. It seems that the people who are kind of upset about this are upset about other people wanting it. Because if they put it in the game and you think it's dumb and terrible, you wouldn't skip the boss. You wouldn't use the boss skip button. So from the perspective of like other players thinking, no, you can't do this will ruin gameplay for those other people who want it. No, that's you imposing your standards on them. As a developer, I probably wouldn't want to put a boss skip option in because it would undermine what I'm making for you.
Right.
It'd be like telling them, hey, and if you don't like if you start reading the book and it's kind of boring, just jump to the end. Like I wouldn't put that on the back of my novel. Like
because you're already admitting, like, I either don't know how to pace my levels, I don't know how to teach my players, or I don't make an engaging game and people just want to skip to the end. Like, that you might as well just give up now.
On top of that, a boss skip or a level skip or just something that allows skipping, that removes content from the player, not giving them greater access to it, which is the goal we're talking about here, I think. So I'm a fan of adjustable difficulty, especially in meaningful ways, rather than just you have more or less HP and they do or take more or less damage, etc. Like in Dark Souls, for example, certain bosses would still be bullshit even if they did a tenth as much damage to you. Yeah, because it's about timing and hitboxes and your hitbox versus their hitbox, stuff like that. So like in Dark Souls, it might be like they're going to use their pain in the ass move way less often, and maybe we add a couple extra frames to the wind up and stuff like that. But that increases workload on designers to make their game easier, and certain designers designing certain games see that as inherently negative, as undermining their game. I'm going to make an assumption here, but I feel like if you suggested an easier difficulty setting, especially one that required a significant amount of work on their part, to the developers of Dark Souls 3, they'd probably spit on you. Because I feel like that's really not what they're going for. They seem to have a liking for making a game that puts your balls in a vice.
Right, and there are certain games that are hard but are elegant about it. Cuphead is one of them. Super Meat Boy is another. If you go all the way back during the day, I think Contra 3: The Alien War is a very hard game, but it's very elegant in how you have to go through it. So I don't mind a game that that's elegant in its difficulty. I don't think Dark Souls necessarily is, but that's kind of an exception, at least in my opinion. Um, but there are other games, like I played a game called, I think, Rex Rocket. It's a 16-bit kind of sprite game, and its main goal was like, we're the hardest game you're ever going to play. And it's like, well, why would you be upfront with that? Like now, like don't do that. Like don't say we're going to be the hardest game ever, and then be cheap about why it's difficult. Because now I'm just doubly upset with you now. But you're hard for no reason, and you're unelegant about it. You know.
And you're bragging about it too.
Exactly.
Bragging about adding a 0 to the HP. Like, good job.
Right.
Yeah, I've commented before, so I won't go into the rant again about the difference between difficulty and challenge. Difficulty being a pain in the ass and cheap, and not difficult in any way, shape, or form to make, and challenge being a lot more complex and requiring more out of the player to overcome it, other than just either grinding to get better than it, or just perfect timing forever.
Mm-hmm.
But oh, go for it.
Just going to say that with all of the talks about gameplay and games as art and being able to access content, I feel like all of these things hover around the same idea of what it means to play a game, what it means to enjoy a game. And I'm not sure if maybe we're at a point in the industry where things are starting to stagnate. It kind of feels like that, and people are kind of grasping for the next thing to try to make it big. And between the people pushing for the games as art, people just trying to make games hard for the sake of them being hard, I also feel like a lot of games are just trying to be not necessarily the clickers, but things to just soak up money and really exploit people's the Skinner box. Trying to like hone in on these things. I feel like gaming is kind of losing its way, and maybe that's just me speaking, but I feel like we're really starting to suffer in the quality of games, and only on occasion will one come out that seems to just want to do its thing and do it well.
Well, I think that's the problem. I think that so many games, especially AAA games and things like that, they try to be as broad as possible to attract as many people to play their games. The more people you see, or the more people that play, the more money you get. I think that's the problem, because Cuphead knows exactly what it wants to be. It wants to be a difficult platformer, so it does just that. Once again, Super Meat Boy, Dark Souls, Danmaku Unlimited, bullet hell shooters. They know, yeah, this is going to be hard, but this is what our audience wants, so we're going to hone in on this particular thing and do that really, really well. And then you get some outliers like Rex Rocket that try to do that, but don't do it quite right. But I think it's stagnating because it's becoming too broad, not a stagnation and necessarily ideas.
Yeah, I won't, because it's a bit of a diverting topic, and I've said it before, but I won't get too, capitalism ruins everything, but, producers playing it way too safe, and like Mo said, trying to hit the biggest target demographic possible, or preferably 2 or 3 of them simultaneously, and or basically the mentality that meth is illegal, so let's make a match 3 puzzler instead. Which is basically the exact same business model. So yeah, the drive for profit rather than product is definitely detrimental. I think it's detrimental in virtually every case, and it's definitely detrimental here.
Yeah,
so.
And I kind of want to go a little bit further with my thought. I think the indie space is doing really, really well. You've got breakout games, once again, Cuphead, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, like that came absolutely out of nowhere. And then you've got Epic trying to, jump on that bandwagon with Fortnite with their Battleground mode. So I think the indie space, just because they're not ruled by capitalism and the man, they have more freedom to hone in on their particular audience.
Yeah.
I would say, in the defense of those producers and people, that they wouldn't be doing what they're doing if people didn't buy it, and that's probably one of the bigger problems there, is that as gaming has grown, it has become more mainstream, but because of that, it's more catered to the mainstream, and your big budget titles are going to, I mean, they're huge. I mean,
Yeah.
how many times have we heard of multi-million dollar games not recouping those costs?
Yeah.
Like that's a standard story now, to be honest. And even then, they cannot pull themselves away from continuing down that path, which is probably also why we see such a huge amount of DLC, microtransactions, pre-order bonuses, all of that stuff, because they know they're sinking this money, they're trying to make it appealing to a massive audience, and they still can't even turn a profit after charging $60 to people that probably don't even care that much about the game. It's kind of sad, but at the same time, the only reason they continue to do it is it continues to sell some.
Yeah.
Yeah, the major enemy of the free market working for the people is capitalism's, crony in crime, advertising. And, everyone's heard of Assassin's Creed 9, but, not everyone has heard of awesome, made by 2.5 people indie game that is, 3 times the game it will ever be. And that's the problem. You get more money, you get more advertising, you can stretch that money further on the next game.
Yeah.
Reinforces. So it keeps the the things that people should be buying instead of the big bloated AAAs out of those people's sight, which is problematic.
I'm not sure, Mo. Can you even show that picture I have of the pre-order thing from GameStop?
If you delay, yes.
Because
I didn't realize that was actually GameStop. I thought it was something someone made and put on Imager.
I did too.
That is a real advertisement. After I saw that, I went to their site just to make sure it was one of their ads, and it's a fucking ad. I can't believe that. Like, the fucking gumption of them, the audacity to make that. And if you haven't seen it, I'm trying not to spoil it until he can put it up on screen. But if he says no, I'm just gonna.
No,
tell
I can
you.
do it. I can do it.
Okay.
I'm just gonna have to cover your face. That's fine with you.
Yeah, it's okay. It's like the perfect. Well, it's like the garnish on top of this conversation we're having, because this is exactly why we're in the place we're at.
Yeah, exactly.
It's gray pubes sprinkled on top of this turd.
Yes, and if you want to go ahead and jump into that, viewers, you're seeing it right now covering Corey's face. If you listen to the audio podcast, sorry we haven't been around for about a month and a half, but
love you.
Yes, I'm not putting in the show notes because I've learned my lesson. But it says
too many drinks.
It's an Assassin's Creed ad from GameStop that says, "Sorry, this bonus mission is blocked unless you pre-order Assassin's Creed Origins." And like Derek said, I thought someone photoshopped this, but nope, this is an actual thing.
Yeah, it's just them saying, "Here's some content the developers made. You can't have this unless you pre-order it. Sorry, the bonus mission is blocked unless you pre-order Assassin's Creed Origins." There's
Like, who thought that was a good idea? Like, who was sitting in the boardroom when they pitched this? Because a lot of people thought this was a good idea. They did. Oh yeah.
Gamers, it's not like someone just like threw this out there and then everyone else was blindsided by it.
Right. Like, people thought this was a good idea.
Not only that, you have to imagine it had to have been Ubisoft for one, and GameStop, who were both agreed to this, because they would have had to make this content and lock it, and then GameStop had to have been like, "Oh, here's our promotion for it," and they both would have had to have been okay with that. No, I'm not sure what their contract is or whatever, but still,
but
you made content knowing that you were going to lock it off from almost everyone that's going to play it unless they did this pre-order. As a developer, how do you enjoy that feeling?
Now, somewhat in their defense, I can understand the need to, because games have been locked to that $60 price point since the PS3. I want to say Xbox 360. That's
I'm pretty sure PS2 era they
Well,
were on
I'm
60.
pretty sure like Nintendo 64.
no. What I'm
Yeah,
saying is that both PlayStation and Microsoft agreed to. They both gave their promise to gamers that games would not be more than $60, and then since then they haven't been above that. Uh, so we mentioned earlier, AAA, the cost of creating a AAA game has gone through the roof, and I'm sure that $60 price point isn't recouping their loss, right? So I
a
can
little thing called inflation.
so I can understand their need to put a $60 game and then have DLC on top of that. Like and I think we're to a point where overall we've said okay, fine, we'll grin and bear it. Where's the DLC at? But now the conversation has turned to DLC is fine, but what kind of deal how well your DLC is produced is now the question. Um, so if the company legitimately thinks that this game is $60 plus whatever the pre-order bonus is, 60 or 20 or 30 or whatever that price is, if they think that this combined is the what the game is worth, then I'm fine with that. Like I have no qualms about that. My issue is it being them bragging about the content being locked away. Like
Yeah.
that's more of my issue than anything else.
It's such a spit in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah. I mean, at the end of the day, they'll do what they want to do, and again, I'll repeat myself for the 13th time. They wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't working. There's probably tons of people that have already pre-ordered it. Like, I want that bonus mission. I'm going to play this game anyway. Might as well pre-order it so I get all the content.
I think the tide is turning because I didn't pull the story because I've been kind of out of the loop, but I've heard it. Forza, the new Forza game, had loot boxes in it, and their progression system's thrown way out of whack because there were in-game purchases you can buy to speed up progression, and so that directly hurts the gameplay. There was a couple games that I can't remember. Oh, the NBA game, NBA 18,
and the NFL game.
Yeah, and the NFL game too.
They're all doing loot crates.
Yeah, but
Battlefront 2.
But I think there's more outrage about because people in general, like Overwatch, for example, people don't mind crates in Overwatch because they're all cosmetic. They have nothing to do with gameplay. Same thing with Heroes of the Storm and like League of Legends and things like that. None of that stuff influences gameplay, so people are fine with it. However, the stuff that they're doing directly influences gameplay. They're pretty much forcing you to pay extra money to progress like you would normally, anyway. That's where people are starting to have hangups on.
Because I guarantee if you put something like that in that speeds up progress, you make the content assuming someone's going to have their progress sped up by an average amount. So if you don't, you're actually getting your progress throttled by not buying in to get the normal rate.
That was the issue with specifically with Forza and NBA Live, where those two particular games, their progression was much slower than they had in previous games. But if you buy the in-game currency and speed everything up, you're actually equal to what you were in previous games. Which, no, I 100% agree. It's gross. And like I mentioned earlier, if you think the game costs $80, if you can produce content that will 60 plus 8 plus 20, or produce content where I'm like, you know what, I played 100 hours of this game. Let me throw you $10 and you give me 100 loot boxes or whatever. That's the way you do it. You don't deliberately hamstring your players in their progression of the game you made in the first place.
Yep.
Agreed.
Yep. How long has it been? We're pushing an hour. Do you guys have anything else before I start plugging our Extra Life campaign?
Nah, I think it's time for Extra Life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
start talking about that because there's a lot on the table there.
There's a whole lot on the table. Okay. So Extra Life is, if you're listening to this week, October 16th. I forgot what date it was. I will put this up tomorrow. because it's very, very important. Our Extra Life campaign is this weekend, Saturday the 21st. Is that the Saturday? Yes, Saturday the 21st and Sunday the 22nd. Um, we are gaming for 24 hours split between 2 days. We're gaming for 15 hours on Saturday and 9 hours on Sunday. We're starting at noon Central Time on Saturday, going till 3, I believe. And then Sunday we're starting at noon again, going until 9. I don't have the schedule.
The drinking doesn't stop.
No, I don't have a schedule because I'm oh so well prepared for this. Wait, actually,
It'll probably change after whatever its current version is anyway, so.
well,
In the show notes.
No, like the schedule of games, like that just takes me to the website. Which, by the way, if you want to donate to the Extra Life campaign, shit, I believe it's extra-life.org/the Secret Cow Level Podcast. If you search for it, that should pop up. I will put a link in the show notes because.
Link in the doobly-doo.
Yep. You can go there and donate. So one of the major things that we're changing is we're playing more competitive games throughout the stream, and we've got a little contest going on. So everyone that's participating in the stream will get 100 points to start out. And throughout the day, if we play a competitive game, first place will get some amount of points, second place gets some amount of points, whatever. Also, the players can bet any amount of points they want to on the side, in addition to any points they would normally gain. And so, at the end of 24 hours on Sunday, whoever has the most points wins a trophy or something stupid. Yay! However, you as the viewer can participate in that as well. So for every dollar amount you donate, you can give it to whatever player you want to. Let's say Corey is in second place, but she's so close to first place. You donate $10, you can donate 10 points to Corey. Or if you want to see more competition between Corey and Derek, you can donate $5 to each of them. Divide your points however you want. 1 point equals $1. So the more you donate, the more you can give to us that are playing. We are also stalling for time.
I was gonna say for the Dungeons and Dragons campaign that
Yes.
we're going to be doing on Saturday night, I want to include you, the viewers, into that campaign by letting you participate. Of course, we're going to have chat up, and Mo's going to be mostly handling the streaming stuff this year, so he's going to be on top of the computer and kind of running things in the background. But that does mean I get to have a person with the ear to chat, and I'm going to allow you guys to donate in order to influence parts of the campaign. As we get closer to it, we'll roll that out. But some things to keep in mind is that before the campaign starts, we're going to allow you to donate towards a boss that's going to be part of the campaign. That way, you guys can basically decide the implement of death we're going to bring upon our players. And secondly, one of the things I want to introduce is allowing you to pay a certain amount of money to influence the next roll of a player or a monster. That way you can either increase their chances of succeeding, decrease their chances, or, just basically laugh at their face. So keep that in mind too. If you don't necessarily want to donate to the points, you can participate in the Dungeons and Dragons campaign with us through your wallet.
Yep. And that campaign will start at 7 p.m. Central Time on Saturday. And so you have a full 7 hours.
That's how math works.
Yeah, to donate and figure out what you want to donate toward in the D&D campaign. Some games that are coming back, Artemis Space Bridge Simulator, we're going to give that another shot. Jack Party Pack, you don't know Jack. Some new games, Screen Cheat, which I think is fucking awesome. Nidhogg 2, Tricky Towers, and
I haven't actually played Nidhogg. I want to play that game.
We got
don't necessarily ruffle stomp us as quickly.
Derek is bringing a bunch of board games. Maybe some Cards Against Humanity. I think Eric's gonna do a game of Werewolf because he loves being the werewolf DM, whatever that position is called. um, so Mario Kart and Mario Maker were on the list, but those may need to change because the Wii U won't be here for silly reasons. So
Okay.
we're gonna try to do that. If not, we're gonna have to come up with something else in like 4 days.
I am going to say right now, if we're going to play Don't Drink and Drive, it will happen toward the beginning of one of the days, not hour 21 after drinking our asses off. And someone's like, hey, you want to chug 3 shitty beers while playing Mario Kart? And I'll be like, no! Because fuck that. That did not work.
No, yeah, that was a very bad idea.
Oh, God.
If we can't get
I would be totally for it being the primer. Like, okay,
right,
I'm sober. Let's start this off right.
okay,
But
I agree.
if we can't get Mario Kart, I'll get Sonic All-Star Racing Extreme Super Dash or whatever. It's a game that you race in, and it's on PC, so I can worry about getting an Elgato and a capture card and other stuff. I know.
I've got an Elgato and a capture card.
Oh, but we still don't have a Wii U. That's the entire crux of
Oh,
the problem.
Well, I have an Elgato, so I can bring that in case the Wii U.
you have a
Right.
GameCube? Do you have like Double Dash or something?
Huh?
You have a
Do I have
GameCube?
Double- Oh, yeah, I have a GameCube, but I don't think I have Double Dash, to be honest.
well.
I have a Super Smash Brothers Melee.
Yeah.
Turns out.
You
drink
don't
and wave
say. Don't drink it and wave dash.
I would play anyone in Pikmin 2 because I actually really enjoy that 2-player version. There's some cool mechanics there. So I don't know. Maybe we can get a fallback going, but regardless, we'll figure something out. If it comes down to us like drinking and insulting each other and having people donate to it, I'm sure we'll do that.
Right. So 100% locked in is D&D at 7 o'clock, and we've got to go in until midnight, I think. I think we have 5 hours cleared off.
I'm going to be playing. Some other people are playing. We're wishy-washy on that, but the important people are there.
Yeah.
I don't know, we're just that way.
Mm-hmm. Nope, the other way. There you go.
Hey, I had it right.
So yeah, once again, this coming Saturday, October 21st, starting at noon until 3 a.m. Sunday, starting at noon until 9 p.m. Donation is in the link below. extra-life.org. Just search for the Secret Cal Level Podcast. Yada yada yada. Facebook. Facebook.com/the Secret Cal Level Podcast. Subscribe to us there. We're on YouTube. We don't have 100 viewers yet because we're a terrible podcast. So go to youtube.com, search for the Secret Cal Level Podcast. Subscribe to us. Help us get our own custom URL. Listen to us on Google Play, iTunes, and whatever podcast feed you use. I think that's it. Do you guys have anything else you want to plug?
I want to say we should probably truncate the podcast down to Sculp. Secret Cal Level Podcast, Sculp. Let's just call it Sculp. Welcome to Sculp.
That sounds...
the Secret Cal Level Podcast. So it's either
The
the Sculp or Sculp.
Sculp.
No,
Sculp.
stop saying sculpt. That sounds
Sculpt.
disgusting.
Sculp.
What is that, like the sound of a dick coming out of your Sculp. No.
No,
It's not-
that's nowhere close to that sound.
No?
No.
I'm so naive. And bad.
And
I
with,
know what the last game's gonna be.
and with
Go
that,
around a 4-player Sculp.
oh, stop. Oh my god. And with that, I want to thank you for listening and watching episode whatever the fuck of the Secret Cal Level Podcast. You guys have a great night.
Bye, folks.
Later.
See you this weekend.